breaking on a mountain sky. Coffee in a cup and a dream to chase. Shane's got the Jeep pointed up that climb. Christina's smiling with the wind in her face. We're Team Lem's off-road chasing sunsets wild. Mud on the tires and a heart like a child. Rock crawling high where the eagles fly. Running white water underneath blue skies.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. On this episode of Team Lem Off-Road Adventures, we're back on the KRX 1000. You might have saw our other episode where we put some Baja Design white pod lights on the back where the whip mounts are for reverse action, so we can see when we're backing up at night. And on this episode we're going to be installing some ambers up on the front. Now these ambers are going to mount right below the mirrors on the roll cage, and we will be using the full access UTV brackets. So they mount to the roll cage here, where your upper roll cage connects to your bottom part of the roll cage down in the by the dash. That mounts on there like that, and then the of course, you know, the amber light will mount on top like that. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, and taking you along for the tutorial, and hopefully figure this thing out together. It looks like it's pretty straightforward, and I'm hoping that I can give you some pointers for when you do your KRX. So stay tuned and let's get out there to the machine. Alright guys, we're out here on the machine. Let me show you what we got going on. So right up here is where these brackets are going to be coming up and out. And then so the pod will sit on there, you know, something like that. So we got to go on the inside and take the bolt out, and then get the new hardware threaded through there, and get the newer longer bolt shoved in. And it actually has a nut on it. The stock one doesn't have a nut, because everything's threaded. So with the nuts on there to hold the bracket on and your light and everything like that. So let me get you turned around here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, looks like we're going to need a 17 socket for inside. Get that popped loose and broke free, and then maybe get it out the rest of the way if we can get this 3/8 Milwaukee in there. So let's get this stuff loaded up in here, get in there and show you. Alright guys, we're inside the cab. Right here, this upper bolt is going to be the one that we're going to take out. Get your socket and ratchet up there. Oh, well, that's a tight one. When that breaks loose, you don't want to make sure you put your hand through your window or let the wrench hit it and crack it. So take precautions. Let your hand hit it if you have to. Oh, all right. So we got her broke free. You can't use an extension or anything. There's not enough room there, but maybe maybe we can get this in there with any luck. Well, for a ways probably. Get her loose. Alright, we got that one out. Let me get the other hardware. Alright, I got the newer, longer supplied bolt with the kit. Start threading that in. Alright, I'm gonna run outside here really quick and take a look and make sure I don't got too much sticking through the fenders there. So there's just a little bit of a gap to see. I think I can pry it back and get the nut and bracket and everything in there. I'm gonna go check that out really quick. All right, guys, let me show you. I got a little predicament here. So my quad has the glass windshield on it. Well, it comes with this trim piece here, which you can see if you look down in there is in the way of the bolt. So there's no way to get the bracket in there to it. So what I did is I pulled these push pins here. Of course, we're on the inside, help holding the hard top on. I pulled the one there. Get you up here. And I pulled the push pin here. There's a bolt here. Push pin there. There's a tab down here that snaps behind the bumper. So I got that loosened up the best I can without taking it off, because I really don't want to take it off. But I think what I'm going to attempt to do is use a hole saw here. I'm going to attempt to pry this back with one hand. Get out of the light there. Pry this back, and there's actually another piece underneath there, so I'm going to pry it back also with one hand and attempt to get in there and drill a hole right here like that, and then hopefully that gives me room to get my bracket in there. We will see. So stay tuned, and I will keep you posted as I go and see how this thing turns out. But yeah, the bolt is down in there. Right there's the one we got to get the bracket and the nut on. Stay tuned. All right, I would advise not doing that. I'm going to have to go to plan B. See, it kind of jumped around on me once and chewed some stuff up, but there's still no getting that in there. I would have to cut this out all the way up here like that in order to get that bracket in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get me about a quarter or a half-inch longer nut and stick it through there, and then put a big spacer on there, and then that way I can get the nut on this side and it'll tighten everything down. I'll have to paint this all up, and then hopefully, you know, the bracket hides most of it, so you can't see it anyway. So yeah, stay tuned. I gotta run to the North 40 hardware store and pick me up a couple longer bolts and some spacers. I'll be back. All right, guys, so I went and I got a longer bolt, and of course the smooth shank part of it's too long to go all the way in, so I'm going to have to use about 4 or 5 washers to pick up that slack. And then on the outside, since it's longer, I'm using the original nut that goes with it, the kit, as a spacer, and then the threads will stick out a little bit. I'll get the bracket on, and I bought a jam nut to put on the outside. So hang with me, and I'll get this together and we'll see if it works. All right, I got that tightened up. Takes a 19 on that new bolt I got. I got that snug down in there, so that's going to be our spacer. All right, guys, check it out. It is on there. I got a jam nut on there. Thread sticking out. So I guess if that ever starts loosening up on me, I could put some blue Loctite or something on it. But yeah, and on the inside, I just had to space that out because the shoulder was too long on that bolt. But I had to get one long enough that it was going to stick out past this, and so that required one had that smooth shoulder on it. It was a little bit longer. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this side all buttoned up and get the push pins and stuff back in it, and we'll go on to the next one. All right, let's get these push pins in. That one's lined up. We need to make sure that this tab here for the bumper goes behind like that, and that lines that hole up. So we'll go ahead and hit that one. All right. See this here, it has this little washer deal on it too. So when you take the bolt out, that didn't come out until I snapped the plastic, and then it went flying. So be careful with that. Get that on there. Is that a 10? Yeah, that's a 10. Urgh. That tightened down. There we go. We got one more push pin, and I believe it was back here. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Voila. So that is in. We got that side done. And again, like I said, when we get the pods mounted, they'll be on their own mounting bracket, and they'll be up there like that. So, all right, let me go ahead and get set up here, and we'll get going on the other side of this thing. All right, go to getting this side off. Over there. There, you can see that. Took out that piece off. We'll put that here since that's magnetic. And we'll work on these push pins. Okay. Those up. And on this one. And there. Okay, I'm gonna finagle there. See, I popped that tab from behind the bumper. Alright guys, I gotta take a short break. I got a call, so I gotta run an errand really quick. Luckily it's only about 5 minutes from my house. I'll run down there and do that. Something going on. It's kind of pretty cool. Can't wait to show you guys. Shop. I dropped something from the KRX off there, and so they were doing some work for me, so we'll go pick her up and I'll show you guys what's going on. Yeah, so what's going on here, and I will pick up what I need to get picked up, and I will show you guys what we got when I get back home. Stay tuned, be right back. We got this one on the outside here. That loose. Alright. I'll put that up here with the rest of these guys. Alright. Now we got a couple inside here we got to get. All right, guys, the other two I were talking about, one right here and one right here. Stick them up there. Get this one. Okay, get that loose. That one up there. There. Now we got that upper fender here, as you can see, is loose. So now we'll work on getting that bolt out of there. Let me go get my ratchet. All right, we'll go ahead and get her broke free with this one. This one you don't have to worry about hitting the windshield. There we go. Those are good and tight. I used to say in Germany. Okay, get that one out of there. Knock you guys over. All right. See, we got one. Get my contraption apart here. Rid of the stuff I'm not going to need. Okay. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like. Get that one started. I forgot, it's a 19. We're running her in by hand since we're here. Alright, go out here and start getting that fender pried off so I can take a look and see what we got. Alright guys, I'm calling her quits for the night. I was trying to get, see if you can see, on the threads down there, I was trying to get my little jam nut on there and I kept dropping it and dropping it and I could fish it out. Well, it finally fell somewhere down in there. And I heard it fall in behind the firewall, and then it didn't, of course, go all the way out because of the skid plate and all that. So it's down underneath there somewhere. I'm just going to run to the parts store tomorrow and get me a new one and a spare and try that, and then we'll get this bad boy on there. All right, so that's it for tonight. You heard the story, so stay tuned, and I will be back tomorrow in a flash, just like that. Morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So as you saw yesterday, I was out here putting these front pod mounts on up here, and got the passenger side done. Almost done with the driver's side, and I dropped the damn jam nut. Yeah, and it went down past the roll bar behind the firewall and all that. So it's a lost one. So I called her quits, and I waited till this morning, and I went to the store and got me some more. Okay, let me show you what we got going on here. So there's the thread right there that we're trying to get on. That's why I need a jam nut and not a full-size nut. So let me get to work on this, and I'll be back. All right, guys, I got it on. But man, what a pain in the keister. I did have to do some trimming, but it is on there. I might have to pry this up just a little bit to get it level. But it's slightly angled down, but yeah, there we go. Done with that, tightened down. So now I'm gonna start working on the pods. All right, before we get started on the pods, let's go ahead and get this stuff all put back together. So remember, we got to get tucked in below the front fender there. Push pin in there. Okay, got one that goes up here. That in. Then we got the bolt with the washer. It goes in here. 10 millimeter. Let's get that snug. Okay. Now we got two push pins inside and one down on the fender, which is probably that one. Let's go look at that. All right, here's the one on the side. Let's see, there it is. We'll get that in the hole. Push that in. That one's good. We'll open the door here. We got these two right here. So one right here. Get that deal in first. There we go. Never use these. See, they got there's a little groove right there, and that lines up in the groove and goes in. Okay, one more. Right here. Okay. Now, I suppose if you don't have these upper doors, you won't have this piece, but you still have to pull that out of the fender. Let me get that. All right, that is in. All right, we're set. All right, now we'll go back and get on the light pods. All right, gang, if you remember from my last video, these are a pretty tight fit. The little nuts, an 8, and this is a 4 millimeter Allen. So you get the bracket the way that you want it. If you prefer to go like that, or if you prefer to go this way. that gives you any more down movement or not. I kind of like the looks of it that way, but you got to remember, sometimes I forget this, put that in there first. Makes it a lot easier to get it in instead of trying to finagle it in there. So we get your bolt in there. And they are threaded. And get just a few threads through there, like that, that you can get the washer to sit on there. There. Then take the nut and get it up there. Oh. There, so the nut's just barely sitting on it. Hold it with your thumb, and now you can run that in. If you run it in first, there's no room to get the nut on there, so you can't run it. You can't run that thing all the way through. See how it sticks above the base there? So that's why you got to do it like that, because you run out of room. So I'll get this. Loosen that up a little bit. There we go. That was torquing the bracket. Okay. Same thing on this side. A few little threads. Get the washer sitting on there. Oh. Better go a little bit more. There we go. Just a thread sticking up, and give that something to. Oh, well, that's too much. That's finicky. Yeah, I got her settled on there now. Hold it with my finger. And tighten. There we go. There'll just be a couple threads sticking out each side. Alright. Down there. We'll just snug her down for right now. We'll have to line all that up once we get it on the bracket. And then obviously you put it on the bracket and that goes on the bottom. So let's get you over there and show you that. Alright guys, let's get this thing on there, see what it looks like. Sit on there like that. Now probably that is so close there. Needs a shorter bolt. I'll see if I got some washers I can space that up with, or go get me some shorter ones. Stay tuned, just a second. Let me be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. As you can see, that's down there in the plastic. So what I'm going to do is space that up. Went and got me a bigger nut. Or you could go get a shorter bolt if you wanted. But this isn't going to hurt. So, I had to do that in the back also. And then again, like I did in the back, I put the flood on the outside and the spot more in the middle. So hopefully that it gets a wider beam on the outside. Let's see, I believe the bottom here is there, something like that. I got the wires. Now my plan is I don't want to put another separate switch in for this, as I'll have switches and relays and everything running everywhere. But I do have this factory Kawasaki 8-inch light bar down here, and the harness is right underneath here. So I think I'm gonna fish the wire. Actually, the harness. I don't think you can see the harness is right here. And it runs down there all the way down here to this Kawasaki light. So I think I'm just going to splice into that harness, and then that way when the spotlight and the yellow pods will all come on at the same time. So there you have it. I'll go ahead and get the other side done up. Alright guys, I'm going to pause right there for today. It is starting to get warm out, and as you know, it's summertime, and we got a boat here, so we're going to go out boating. And then either later this evening or tomorrow, I'll get back on that and get the wiring in and get everything all done up. So stay tuned, and I'll see you tomorrow. Alright gang, excuse me. I decided I'm going to jump in right here. After doing some editing on the video and everything, I decided that I'm going to end this one right here, and I think that'd be a good spot. We got those ambers mounted, and so I was going to wire that into, like I said, into that front LED light down there on the bumper, but that thing's already starting to get